How's it going? My name is Jumpy. When I was making my Saw series retrospective videos, thinking about the David Fincher movie Seven just made me want to revisit it, so here I am. The movie was released in 1995, and it was written by Andrew Kevin Walker. In the film, we meet two homicide detectives. The movie never says where it takes place, so I'm going to call it Jigsaw City until I can think of a better name. There's William Somerset, played by Morgan Freeman, who's a week away from retirement when he's partnered up with the younger and much more impetuous David Mills, played by Brad Pitt. Alright, let's say the movie takes place in Pittsburgh, where it apparently rains a lot. Mills just moved to the city with his wife Tracy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow. The two detectives clash immediately. After finding the body of a man who was tortured and killed, Somerset wants off the case, but their boss keeps Somerset on the investigation. Afterwards, Mills goes to another murder scene and finds the word greed written in blood. Somerset returns to the first murder and discovers that the first case is connected to the second one. And there's a serial killer who's murdering people who have committed one of the 7 deadly sins. The two detectives work together to find out who's behind this and hopefully stop them before another 5 murders take place. I also need to point out that Pittsburgh is pretty close to the Kennywood Amusement Park, which is the home of Phantom's Revenge, the Morgan Freeman hypercoaster. Not that they go there in the movie or anything. If you haven't seen Seven yet, you're probably not going to drop everything and check it out based on the premise alone. What makes this movie stand out is how great it is in the execution of the story. Visually, the movie is dark, and it just demands your attention. There's a lot of effort put into the shots and the editing. It's mostly cool and smooth, but there's also sparing use of shaky cam during more intense moments. Well, that's a little over 2 hours long, and time doesn't completely fly by. The movie is never boring and feels a little shorter than its runtime. The acting is really well done across the board and everyone's believable. The supporting cast has some familiar faces, like Richard Schiff from The Lost World Jurassic Park and Speed, Arlie Ermy, Richard Roundtree, Hawthorne James from Speed, as well as Leland Orser, who also shows up a few years later in The Bone Collector, a movie that's very inspired by Seven and nowhere near as good, but I've always had a soft spot for it. David Fincher got his start directing music videos, and Seven's opening credits sequence sets the disturbing tone of the movie by showing the killer writing in notebooks and looking at creepy photos while also holding a razor, marking out text and cutting out words. And there's even some sewing. It's all set to a remix of a song by the 9 Inch Nails. After seeing season 3 of Twin Peaks, I cannot call them anything but that. Sorry. Seven itself doesn't show much graphic violence. I always thought the movie's US rating description was hilarious. It's rated R for quote-unquote grisly afterviews of horrific and bizarre killings. Since the movie follows the detectives, they find the victims after the fact and then piece together what happened. Combined with the acting and the very bleak tone, it's very effective. There are still some wonderful little bits of comedy in the movie that don't harm the tone. Brad Pitt makes me laugh multiple times, and it always feels natural to his character. Like when he gets a phone call from his wife Tracy at work when she wants to speak to Somerset, and then invites him to dinner at their apartment. And after we see Somerset go to a library to read books about the 7 deadly sins, Mills gets the Cliff's Notes. This does a good job showing the difference between how the characters handle the investigation. Somerset is more meticulous and Mills looks for shortcuts. Also later, Somerset wants to get a warrant to an apartment and Mills just breaks into it. The film gives some other good character moments as well, and one of my favorites is when Tracy meets and confides in Somerset at a diner. The movie is thrilling at times, like when the two detectives catch up with the killer. And the ending is incredibly memorable, and even on a rewatch when I knew exactly what was going to happen, it works very well. I'm giving Seven a 9 out of 10. This is a very popular and well-regarded movie, but I still wanted to talk about it, and give a quick recommendation if you haven't already seen it, and it sounds appealing to you. Also, Pittsburgh and Kennywood are both about a 5-hour drive to Six Flags Graded Fincher. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time when I talk about the movie The Game. Take care.